Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm glad here on this Monday morning. Got a big show lined up and a big week lined up. So let's get started. Our weather, listen, it's getting on out of here and all. Hopefully we're going to have a better week, and it looks like it's going to be pretty good the rest of the week. It's going to be a little windy today, and we're going a little damp in some areas, but high today is going to be 87, low 76, and water temperature is hanging in there at 77 degrees. So we're okay on all of that. Our moon phase, our Monday moon phase, brought to us by Mountain Dew. Get out and do. You see right there on the chart, things are looking good. It's just going to be June is just a great month, all the way around. It's just one of those in-between months where it's not too hot, not too cold, not too windy, not too wet. June has always been a great month, and it sort of gets us started for the summer. Now, I can't say the same about July and August, but June has always been good to us outdoors people. Tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn. We're looking at a high tide at 11:03 this morning and a low tide at 10:33. Today's June the 8th, and you can see really strong tides next couple of days. The winds now, like I said, is going to be coming out of south-southeast anywhere from 12 to 15. So be aware of that and act accordingly in the outdoors is what the wind's going to do. Always, you can't control the wind, and the wind controls you as outdoorsmen. Always remember that. So you can't, you don't want to get out in open waters in a small vessel. A lot of times I say that, and I know I remember as a teacher I would say things, and I could tell it was just going over the students' head. They just could not comprehend. And the reason I always say about these small vessels because in my lifetime, especially in my early years, I've known these little wooden boats these old men had made, and they'd get out. Some folks would get out in Lake Talcott and Lake Seminole and get caught in some of that wind, and some of them were tragic results. Most of them were able to get out of it, but I just remember some boats, some homemade wooden boats being overrun by the waves coming in and wind picking up stronger than they thought it would be. So that's why I refer to that. I guess it goes back to my younger days, so about being careful in a small boat in an open lake. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I don't know about your outdoor plans, but on number one on my list this week, I'm going to go down and fish around the St. George Island area. Our cousins up and over at the island. This is their week in June, 2 weeks in June they get to stay, and we'd love to meet up. They get to meet up with them last year because of the hurricane repair and everything, but we're going to meet up with our cousins and Winston going fishing at St. George Island. So be looking. I don't know what day I'm going, but I'll see if Bill Allen come in, and maybe some of y'all may want to substitute one day for me. Just get in touch with me, and we'll do a screen test for you and all, and we'll see. Okay, look, let's move on. We're talking about fishing. Look, this is CCA Florida Star Tournament. We talked about it a little bit on Studio B. I want to go ahead and mention it. They delayed it now. It's not going to start until July 1. Remember, it usually starts on Memorial Day to Labor Day, but here's going to start July 1 through October 4th. But remember now, you got to register. See the little tag coming up there? That's how the tag looks, and you know the stories behind them. People not registering and all. I promise you I will be registered by July 1. I want to go and tell you that's not but about 3 weeks away, and they're going to be releasing them soon. I'm going to try to get me a drone. But here, talking about catching them, look at here. This guy caught one, marched down in Cape Canaveral, a redfish, caught him March 31st. This was last year. This is a 2019 star tag redfish. So he wasn't eligible for the big prizes, but if you catch one, you're still gonna get $1,000 worth of prizes, like all kind of cool stuff. So he wasn't registered, he just lost $1,000. And here, I showed this last month at Studio B, but it'll show better here. These are the first place. If you catch the first tag redfish, you're gonna have a tough decision trying to choose which one of these you want. Here, I'm gonna just do them in order the way they're presented. This is a Contender 22-foot sport boat, a Contender. That's a fine boat. If you don't want a Contender, how about a Pathfinder, a 22-foot Pathfinder? Okay, that is a fine boat. A trailer, everything loaded. How about, if you don't want a Pathfinder, How about a Hughes Redfisher? You're talking about three, that's some fine boats. That'll last you 15, 20 years. And the Carolina Skiff, how long have they been in business? They don't stay in business by making bad boats. They make great boats. So Carolina Skiff, 21-foot boat. Or what? Okay, so that's your choices. If you get the first one, then you get a second one, you get whatever left. That's the order it does. Now the youth anglers, okay, the first two youth angler winners will be awarded either one of the little salt marsh skiff, okay, or they'll get both of them will get that, okay. The winners of that'll be. So anyway, I'm going to talk about this all along and try to get you to encouraged about it, and it's just important that you register. We've had, the year before last, we had some locals that caught one that would have been the first one in the state, and they were not registered. They tried to get registered on the phone from the water, because I told you the story about them calling me, and it was humorous, and it was sort of sad at the same time, because they lost about 50 grand or 60 grand, some of those boats, 70 grand maybe. Boats are expensive now, but man, are they well built. Speaking of boats, I'm always harping too on boating safety, and I was running across something the other day, and we're talking about all kind of gadgets, for lack of a better term, on helping you out to be safe and all. A lot of times I'm talking about in open water or over when I go down to Carabel, we go out 30, 40 miles in a small boat. You don't that concerned when you go out on a big charter boat like the Seminole Wind, because all the safety features are so well built in and all. But sometimes you go out with just you and your buddy Tony Bass and Wendy Colson and in a small boat, and we've been out there in some rough weather. So you do think about it. And first thing, and we talk about this a lot out there, that far out in a small boat, we have an EPIRB. Okay, what's the EPIRB? People want to know, what is an EPIRB? It's right here, Emergency Position Indicating Radio Beacon Station. Okay, EPIRB. Okay, that's what it is, just for your knowledge and everything. And what it does, I looked up a little chart. Look at this little chart here. This is what it does. Okay, look at the lower left-hand corner, number 1. That's us out there at the Carabel. We've been close to doing that, honestly. Distress signal, okay, you activate it, when it hits the water, it'll activate itself. So the signal goes up to a satellite, okay, way up the top left-hand corner. It hits one of those systems. Now, keep on going clockwise, the top of the page, number 2, those satellites are going to relay it to number 3. Of course, the signal, satellite then back to the ground to number 3, the local terminal, and they hit mission control. Now, I don't know if that's in Houston or not, mission control. Okay, probably, they're all over the world. That's what's cool about them, all over the world. And then it gets, they signal right away to Rescue Coordination Center, which is usually in America, it's the United States Coast Guard. If it's on the waterfront, they will get the signal from there, and then they'll dispatch a helicopter to that. And that's sort of simple. It sounds simple. It's really complicated as far as how they put all this together. But yeah, what are some life-saving? I don't know if it's going to show up this well on this is a map of the world. All these little dots and everything are where these folks have been rescued in the last year or two, okay, from EPIRBs. These are EPIRB rescues, and I'm gonna narrow it down to the United States. Look down at Florida in the lower right-hand corner. Are we pretty active down here in the outdoors? And then look out, this is interesting too, look at the western part of the country, the Pacific Northwest, and you know what's all through that. Can you see the Rocky Mountain chain from hikers and everything getting in trouble in California? And you know how goofy those people in California are. So but look up in the Northeast, not much outdoor activity going on up there. But anyway, you see where the people rescued, okay? But let's narrow it down. Let's go. Look at the Florida Panhandle. I'm gonna zoom into the Florida Panhandle. I don't know if it's showing up on the screen. Guess where the one spot is in the Florida Panhandle? You got it. Tate's Hale State Forest. That is almost, when I saw that, I almost cracked up, because that really happened in Tate's Hale, the exact thing. And we'll talk about that. Most of y'all know the story of Tate's Hale, but if Mr. Tate could, if he'd had an EPIRB back when he got lost, the forest probably wouldn't have been named after him. But they found Mr. Tate there, and we'll tell that story later if y'all don't know it. But anyway, ain't that funny though? The one in the Florida Panhandle is in Tate's cell. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Sort of on the same line, I would always tell my students, I'd always ask them, what is the Boy Scout motto? And it goes back way back. The Boy Scout motto, be prepared. And most of them did not know that, but they knew by the time they left class. So always be prepared. And that's one of the things in boating we do a lot. But along the EPIRB, I was looking at it last night. I just get engrossed in looking up this stuff, and I found a site. These are survivor stories from EPIRBs, and I started looking at them. I'm not going through them. You can look them up yourself. But I just want to share. It tells different things. These are where they happened. Okay, this past year or two. These are just recent ones. Marco Island, Jacksonville Beach, hiking, and these are the people in it. They're a guy picked up in a helicopter from the mountains, and these are what people with snow. You see all the different things, and these are people that were actual. These are actual, true stories from the folks who were out there, and some of the crews that rescued them. And I read some of them. What you do, you want to read the story. Let's see. Let's look at Freeport. I'm gonna just touch on this story right here. That's Freeport, Texas. Okay, it happened. They saved 8 lives. And then this story just sort of tells what happened. I won't read it to you. Is this familiar? The vessel began taking on water after being in the sea for about 14 hours. It had 6 souls aboard, not 6 people, 6 souls. And they bailed and pumped. So they sent out a mayday, and the U.S. Coast Guard arrived within 20 minutes and saved all souls aboard the vessel. Look at it. Whoa. The wave heights were 6 to 8 feet and wind 15 to 20. Okay, that's a good one to pick out. I don't know how I picked out a good one like that, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. So anyway, you can go through that. You can go through that site, and it's just a lot of cool stuff in it, and some mountain rescues and all kinds of different things. So that's interesting. Get a chance to do that. That's EPIRBs, and I just really feel strong about those one signal thing. And now, of course, on boating safety, all kinds of things we can talk about, and I will continue to talk about boating safety as long as we do the show, because it is so important. But let's move on. I think about the EPIRBs and all, and in my mind also, I always flash back to history and heritage about how the old timers, when they got lost, and when I doing the book and all, I would read some tragic stories, but also some good life-saving stories where they were towed in by their buddies, and all that was in the newspaper. And I started thinking about all the old equipment they have, and I just brought some in the house. I collect all kind of old stuff, and I was looking at some old stuff last night that the actual fishermen. I started thinking about technology. And look at the Garmins and all, so much technology is out there. These side scan sonars, and you can see what's underwater basically. It's amazing at the electronic devices fishermen have today. And in the early days though, how do they, how they found them? They would have, and also, this goes back almost to biblical days where this right here this is just some original stuff that I collected over the years and all. This is a sounding lead. And you toss it out over the bow of the boat, toss it out. And also they would have this one, I couldn't find the one I was looking for. This, see a little hollow right there? They'd put Octagon soap in it. Okay, this one actually came from Apalachicola Bay, the Apalachicola area. The old fellow gave it to me. He wanted me to have it. He said nobody else wanted it. He wanted me to have it because he knew I liked the old stuff. And when you put Octagon soap in it, when it hit the bottom, you'd pick it up, and if it had sand on it, you'd keep moving. But once you start getting some rocks and everything, some hard stuff, then that's where you'll start fishing, especially if it dropped off in a hole. And he was telling me stories about just the holes in Apalachicola Bay. They in those days, they caught some fine fish in Apalachicola Bay. And they would go right outside of St. Vincent Island, out of the mouth of Old Pass, and catch things. But anyway, I don't know how old this is, but it's old. But this is how, they didn't have the electronics, but that's how they did it. And they did real well. The plus side, what they had, they didn't have a lot of boats out there. There's just a handful of people fishing. So all those natural resources, they're just, hundreds and thousands of fish out there. they would talk about having the fish out there. Only a handful of people, handful of men would be brave enough to go out there and get them and brave the weather and everything. On the snapper fishing, this is just a little, what they call a kidney weight, and you drop it down. The early snapper fishermen would drop it down. Of course, you'd have 2 hooks on. That's the first time they would be using 2 hooks. Would be this little, what they call a kidney weight, and you see how it's got that name and all. And that's one. This is Captain Virgil Anderson gave that to me. And then this is an old hand line, okay? And you see how that's made? The commercial guys, they did not use rod and reels. They just didn't use it. They would hand line it, pull it in like that. That goes back again in the history of mankind. A lot of the early fishermen would use it, and it'd be, and they'd wrap it. When they finished, they'd wrap it around here, and they'd move them around, and they'd handle 2 or 3. But can you imagine, like that Goliath grouper I showed last week that they'd caught? Can you imagine catching a grouper like that? And you imagine how their hands, you look at these old time fishermen, their hands were just so calloused and all. And then they started using like leather, like a little leather glove, little leather tab, just so it wouldn't eat their hands up. And they would do that all day long. And you could, you could, so they would always, the captain told me they always wanted those young, strong boys to come in there because they were doing that all day long. They were really had to be strong to pull up those big fish. And they would actually fill up those boxes, and hence the title of the book, Full Box. But that's how they did it with these old lines like this. I just wanted to show you some of the old fishing equipment. I got all kind of old junk at the house that nobody else wanted. And we do have one day we talked about it years ago when I first started the show, having a maritime museum, especially in a place like St. Andrews. And if we ever get that, I'm going to donate all my stuff to them and let them have it. And because we have such a great history here in the Florida Panhandle, here on the waterfront, our heritage and all is second to none. And it's important that we preserve that. I know a lot of y'all have old stories. And I remember when I was doing the book, the first time I was on the TV show, I was actually on the Red Holland show. And Scott Lindsay, my good friend Scott Lindsay, invited me on. And we talked about I was just in the process of doing the research for the book. And Scott wanted me to come on. And Red had been out of town, and Scott had a show, and we had the best time. But I remember getting phone calls after the show from people in Carabel, Apalachicola, over here around Niceville, of old families. They were so excited about us doing something, taking that on and everything. And one of the I wanted to find the song on Tate's Hell, and one of the guys said, and this lady, she said, my grandmother would sing it when I was little. And that was the last time that she ever heard the song sung. But anyway, I'll start on about history. I'll talk all day. We got to take a break. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Quick look at our fishing game time, brought to us by Blue Water Outriggers. Today, 3:21 to 5:21, and we're just wrapping that one up. But this afternoon, 3:49 to 5:49, a good time to be in the outdoors. I won't say specifically where, but it just would be a good time to be out there. We spent the last segment talking about the past and everything, and also how to prepare in the future with boat safety. June, as always, denotes beginning of summer. You think about having kids in the summer, all kinds. It might be grandkids or neighbors' kids, your kids, or nieces and nephews. And again, I make a list of things to do. These lists I make out, I used to write them on the board. But anyway, here's some summer activities to do with kids. This is some future stuff, but you can start on it today. And just at random, but there's some neat ideas here, some things that I've done before, and some other things I picked up. Number one, I always talk about a nature walk. If you get, just to take the kids early in the morning, late afternoon when it's cool, walking through the woods on a trail or something on a nature walk, and they'll look at the bushes, the trees, and anything. Okay, number two, and this goes along with number one, have a bug hunt. Say, we're gonna go out and look for some bugs, and maybe have a little net or something, and have a jar, and let them catch the bugs, and then take them back to the house, back in the air conditioner where they used to, and let them identify the bugs, and then of course then ID them and look online and see what they look like, and then take them outside, let them go. Or even cook them for lunch, whatever you want to do with them. But different things. If you don't want to collect them, just take a little clipboard and some paper and let the kids sort of draw what that bug looks like, and then take it back to the house. So you get art and activity all in one, multitasking. Number three, I talked about a backyard camp out. This is not innovative. People have done this for a long time, but on a good night, just set up a tent in the backyard. Let them set it up and spend some time. You might want to put a fan out there or something, make them comfortable, but that's something good to do. Number 4, again, I talk about this a lot. Build a little bird house. Let them maybe glue it together. Start off by just buying a kit. You can go to places like Hobby Lobby and just buy little kits or something, and let them sort of put it together, and then let them look up what kind of birds are going to be using it, and just put it outside, paint it, protect it. Number 5. This might be controversial now but try to do it in a controlled environment. How about a watermelon seed spitting contest? Okay, but now with the virus and everything, seriously, you want to get everybody away. Get one person way over here, and let them spit in that direction and all. But you might want to be careful doing that. But that used to be a fun thing to do. But might want to be more careful with that. Don't go out and say I said do that. Number 6, obstacle course in nature. Have some logs or something, or some kind of, when people are out in the woods, and they all know it, when you're out there walking, it's not just a straight flat path. You got to get over trees, you got to do this, especially after a hurricane. So let them practice climbing over things, and then teach them about the importance of, making sure it's clear and there's not a snake under there and all that. But just an obstacle course, and even in the backyard, put in some boxes or stuff, and let them step over it, or go get some limbs and all, and just let them get used to walking in nature. Now, think about that one. That's a good one. Paper boat races. Let them put together a little paper boat, and you got a lot of y'all have little pools in the backyard, or some of y'all have a nice pool. Jeff's got a nice pool, and build that boat, and then let it float out there. It's really, let me use this word. It's really fascinating to build your own boat and see it float. Trust me, it is, even if it's a small boat. Here's one, I've never done this one. I looked up, this is a good idea. They call it Frisbee tic-tac-toe. You get an old shower curtain and put tic-tac-toe, and then, you throw a Frisbee. If you land in, with your Frisbee, you mark it out. So I've got more, I have to finish these up tomorrow. That's a good idea. We run out of time. Thank y'all for watching Panhandle Outdoors. We always appreciate the viewership and enjoy doing it for you. You have a great day, and God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.